and walking into our studio. It's a surprise. I told Kirsten Geraldo would be on the show, but not in person. And, of course, she's a little starstruck. Give her a second to get her feet and her emotional balance. Geraldo Rivera, welcome
She's
back
all
to
a
Brand and the
buzz,
Judge.
I could tell. She eats her bread muffin.
Twitter.
Kirsten, how would you describe your relationship with Geraldo? Or better yet, Geraldo, how would you describe your relationship with Kirsten?
You know, I have been clean and sober in the adultery area for 7 years, and I've met her since then, so I can only say that it's collegial.
7 years. Okay.
7 years. Oh,
Wow.
It's a start.
I keep forgetting how honest you are.
That's right.
I'm used to the
Be careful what you ask me, because I will
think
answer.
he's a real hero.
That's fine, Mr. Trump.
Now, you've been to Iraq many times.
8 times.
Are you now we're hearing all this information about how there's been progress and that they now need more time. They need until November. What do you make of this?
Well, let me say, generally speaking, that the worst thing about war fighting is politics, because politics screws up war fighting. Our forces there, with the sometimes noble, courageous support of the Iraqi forces that we are standing up, are for the first time since 2003 making meaningful progress against our prime enemy, which is al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia, which is the terrorists, the Sunni tribes. And I saw it myself the last time I was there in Anbar. I saw 400 Sunni trouble kids show up. I saw it with my own eyes to join one morning. And that is happening in also in Diyala and some other provinces. I really believe that Petraeus and Odierno and these guys, some of the best ever, Campbell, General John Campbell, they really can win this thing. I don't understand what the hell the National Intelligence Estimate is saying when they say that al-Qaeda is as strong as it has ever been. I think al-Qaeda is full of crap. And al-Qaeda, what is al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda is just an ideology. That's all al-Qaeda is. And the ideology is apocalyptic anarchy. That's under the guise of Islam. So if you want to blow up the world and you don't want any government to succeed other than Sharia or the caliphate of the old days, and all you do is kill people randomly to foment anarchy, that's al-Qaeda.
So you don't buy the idea that they have been regenerated and regrouped?
I think it's a bunch of hogwash. Do I believe that war radicalizes young people who might not otherwise be radicalized? Yes, I believe that. And I think that that's something to be aware of as this Iraq involvement stretches into decades, which I believe it will.
Do you think there's something wrong with Hillary Clinton having asked the Pentagon for
Hell no.
withdrawal?
Well, I mean, war and elections are the worst possible thing, because who's in favor of war? Who's going to vote for war? Realistically, who's going to vote to keep 160,000 American young people in harm's way? Nobody's going to vote for that. That's ridiculous. You can vote on a war the day it happened, like they bombed Pearl Harbor. If you voted, Americans would have voted overwhelmingly to go to war. But then Vietnam 10 years later, if you voted on Vietnam 10 years later, I say, oh, get me out of here. What am I doing here? And yet, when you look what we left behind in Vietnam, strategically what happened in terms of the geopolitical reality and the million people that were Pol Pot killed in Cambodia and all those people that died in those re-education camps in South Vietnam, what we did in Vietnam was walk away from a responsibility, and we suffer a guilty conscience as a result of it.
French
particularly in my generation. Right. I am beset by personal guilt over Vietnam because, A, I dodged the draft by going to law school, and some of my friends didn't, and B, I campaigned so ardently to get out of Vietnam, and I think to a catastrophic result. We were so focused on our own suffering that we allowed millions of people to suffer in our stead.
Well, because Barack Obama actually just came out and said, even if there's genocide in Iraq, that's not a reason to stay.
I disagree with him. I disagree. We're not there to prevent genocide in Iraq anyway, and I want to make that clear. We're there because Iraq is 2 miles from the Suez Canal, a mile and a half from Israel.
But if we are there, it's not
next
gonna
door
happen.
to Saudi Arabia. And I think as long as we're there, as unpleasant as it is, if we can defeat the anarchists And if we can empower the responsible Sunnis while understanding that the country has to transition to a majority Shiite country, because that's what it is. And as a majority Shiite country, it will be closer to Iran than it is to Saudi Arabia. That's just the way things are going to happen. If we understand that, we let them know we understand that, and we also let them know that we're not going to countenance using the country as a national base to commit terrorist acts against its neighbors in the region and the world. I think that what you have to look at Iraq, in my opinion, is like Korea. Iraq is like Korea. You've got to think in terms of half centuries, not in terms of years, not even in terms of decades.
What's happening over in the Pakistan area where Musharraf is losing control, so we're with the president.
I wouldn't sell Musharraf out yet. That's a tough
but I'm so
SOB,
pleased that truce fell apart.
In Waziristan and all that.
Waziristan, because it allows us once again.
Well, did you think he was going to go into the Red Mosque?
No.
A lot of people thought he didn't have the guts to do that.
And about 70 people have lost their lives. No, excuse me, 155 people have lost their lives in response to that because they're blowing up, they're killing people now, is Al-Qaeda in Pakistan.
Well, you think they wouldn't be doing that otherwise?
No, I believe that it's all good. This is getting to the heart of the infection. It's pouring peroxide in a cut that you're ignoring.
I think the Pakistani army can never be underrated. I think that Musharraf's action in the Red Mosque was a seminal event. And he proved why Bush is right to back Musharraf. He's absolutely right. Can you imagine that nation without a strong man in control right now? And although I love Benazir Bhutto, I want democracy, I'm realistic right now. What you need to do is fight the anarchists. You know, he's got a real tiger by the tail, but I also believe that the Red Mosque was a very important, again, a seminal event, and I think that Musharraf will be more aggressive against those tribesmen now.
When can we watch you over the weekend, Ron?
8 o'clock, Saturday and Sunday.
Come on, sell me on it, baby. Come on, 8 o'clock Saturday and Sunday. It's must-see TV.
I'll be kicking butt.
All right, that's fine.
Guiding you on a journey through the news and information jungle. It's Brian and the Judge on Fox News Talk.